Start. Okay, welcome everyone to week 14. So today we are going to work on chapter 7. Chapter 7 is about the data and database administration. So today we are going to talk a lot about the DA and the DBA, the data administration and database administration. Okay, so any of you probably work Any of you work like in the industry organization or something? Okay, so have you ever heard these roles in your organization, the data administration or database? Do you have two group of these or is just one group? I guess one. Okay. So data administration, database administration, technically they are two different things, especially for the big organizations with employee of over 10, 1,000, 2,000. So they usually have different departments for it, different group of people for it. But in a smaller organization, they usually just combine these two as a one group, and they usually name it as a database administration. Okay. But again, data administration, database administration is different. So what do you think? Do you think what is the difference between these two groups? What did they do? Hello. Do you think what would be the difference between these two groups? Which one is more technical? Which one is more involved to the business? So, do you have any idea? Do you have anything in your mind about what? Sorry, guys. Hardware. Good. That I mentioned about this. So, technically, the data administrative role, they are more involved into the business. They know more about the whole structure of the business. They have to know it because they are the people that dealing with the data. They should know where data come from, which organization have, which department generate what type of data. They are more into that depth. Database administration, as you mentioned, that the physical is one of the example of them. So they care more about how to maintain the database, how to make sure the database are secure, even from the physical location that you mentioned. So that's the job that database administration doing. Database administration are dealing with the level of authorization and authentication of the people that access to the data. Which department access to which part of the data? What are the like the different type of mechanism in order to do the backupping, restoring? All those stuff is for the database administrative people. They are not that much aware of the business and they don't need to because all they care is to make sure that the data is running well, the data is working well, it's secure, it's safe from whatever type of attack, cybersecurity attack, those things. But the data administrative role, they are really more involved with the data itself about the whole the process. So we will talk about it. So if we want to, for example, do the analogy according to the book between the data and database itself, we would name data as like a blood into the whole system. Okay. So technically, data itself, it's like a life for the business. The business, when you're running the business, the data is generating automatically based on the transaction that you are having, based on the different uh, connection between department. Second by second, you are generating data. And that data technically flow through the whole system of the business that you have. As I mentioned before, the system understand design course, you might have it, you might gonna have it after this semester. So over there, they will talk more about the ERD. We saw the ERD in this course, entity relationship diagram, or the other one, the UML that work based on the object-oriented modeling. We just mentioned that, okay, this is there. But creating that entity relationship diagram, a lot of things are happening before. Those things, the data administrative people, they are involving in that step. A lot of uh, like a interview with a different department in order to find a different part of the business. They have to know how the business works. That's why the ERD, you mentioned that the ERD is a full picture of the business. Just with one look and spend a couple of minutes in the ERD, you will understand how the business works, how the data flow through the business. That's why they have to first come with the DFD, as I mentioned before, data flow diagram. And according to that data flow diagram, they will come with the ERD or UML based on different method that they're using. Okay. So in general, data is exactly like a block, and the database that we are creating it just because of those data, we can just name it as like a vein or heart of the whole business, and data flow through that database. So database itself, again, is created based on the data that we have, based on the different attributes, different features that each department have it. So that's the whole story, the data database. When you have both of them ready, the system itself is going to generate data second by second, day by day, week by week, based on the business that you are working. And right now, it's a job for the data administrative people to make sure that data working well, data is consistent, data is accurate. We will talk about those in details. And also database people, they will make sure that, okay, this heart of the business, these veins are working correct. There is no issue, there is no attack, there is no cancer in these specific database that they have. Okay. So that's a job that the database administration people, again, in the big organization, they are two different teams. They for sure working together closely, but they are two different peoples. The second one, they should be very, very technical. They should be aware of whatever type of cybersecurity attack. So that's the time that they should definitely hire people that they are very technical in order to coding, in order to do the cybersecurity stuff. So over there, people are more technical, not involved into the business that much. But here on the data administration part, they are very, very closely involved into the business. They know which data comes from which department, for what purpose, when, to whom. That's all the things the data administrative people know. So technically, that's the difference between the data administration and database administration. Okay. So let's go more deep through the data administrative role. So technically, one of the things as I mentioned that for database the data administrative, I will call them DA and DBA from now. So for the DA people, again, it's so important for them to know how the data generating, which department generating the data, what are the specific features for that department. They have to make sure to always keep monitoring this process because it's always possible that, okay, you went through this, the organization, the department A, the same department, and you know some attributes, you know some features of that table of that department, and they are generating data. But 6 months from now, 4 months from now, 1 year from now, they might, for example, having some new feature, or they might not creating some data for some part of the features that we are looking for. So in that case, that's a database administrator to question that department. Okay, what's happening? Where is the data for this part? Or based on the things that we are monitoring, you are creating some new stuff. So what is this about? So that's all the things that like a data administrative people doing, the DA people doing. And again, the way that they use the data, the way that they define the data, that's a whole process that they are keep monitoring it, and always they have to make sure that they're updating it. But sometimes for a big type of database, for the big organization, they create a database based on all the huge amount of process that I mentioned that. At the same time, they also create some metadata as well. So do you have an idea what is that metadata? Have you ever heard about the metadata? Yes. Question or no?
It's like it's attached well, for me, is it
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Come on. Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. 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 Mm-hmm.
Switch.
Mm-hmm. So technically, extra information regarding the main database. Okay. So technically, in those type of organization, when they have their own database, they have another database that technically are created in order to define what they already have. So extra information, like your friend said, extra information about the real database. So in those big level things, we need to have those type of uh, extra database, which we call the data dictionary. So that one, it's always useful because the point is, I am a head of the DA department. Okay. We created data, it's working well. For whatever reason, I got fired. Or no, I'm going to the other organization for better money. The new people would come and take the job. It's super challenging for them to understand whatever I have done. See, especially if I didn't have a good intention for that organization and made everything very complex. But when you have the data dictionary, when you exactly explain that, okay, this is the same department, this is the department A, this is the table A, this is exactly these features, each feature is related to these type of people, these type of people collecting data through this. So documentizing everything in the data dictionary, it's definitely help the other people and also yourself as well. You might create something now in your job, and 6 months from now, based on the job that you are doing, you haven't had any interaction with that specific part. And after 6 months, you might say, oh my God, what was this one? What was this one? But when you go to data dictionary, you can have a better understanding what happened. Okay. So that's always important. And as I mentioned, one of the most important jobs that the DA people is doing is about the quality of the data. It's about these features. Is about the data should be accurate, data should be complete, data should be current, consistent, and also relevant, reliable, accessible. We'll talk about those. These are very, very important for the real, let's say, healthy database that you can rely on and work on that database and run your business based on that database. If one of these features was not in the database, technically you are done. If just the data is not accurate, you are technically making decision based on the inaccurate data, and just guess what's going to happen at the outcome for the whole organization. That's why the DA job, the data administrative job, is a very, very, very important job. So one of the things that they have to do, as I mentioned, is about the defining the data. Okay, defining we already know it kinds of. So by defining, for example, for a specific table, a specific features, a specific attributes, they are going to name it. Okay, what are the name of the tables? What are the name of the features? Or for example, the type of them. We now right now know what does it mean by the character 30 or the variable character 30, right? We know right the difference between these two. So in a big data sets that dealing with the big data in a big organization, this very, very small change in matters. We talked about it. Just the number of storage that you can occupy from the system according to this one or this one in a data sets that's generating trillions of data yearly, it impact a lot in the whole system. Okay. So they are responsible for the data type. They are responsible for everything of the data. Who owns the data? Is it related to Department A? Is it related to Department B? That's the type of things that they have to also make sure to have it, you know? That's all the things. Who have access to this data? Is it for just the, I don't know, the department head of that specific unit, or the, for example, the associate, they also can have access to it. So that's the whole job, okay? So the one that I mentioned that regarding the data quality and data integrity, that's the all couple of features that we should always make sure the data have it. First, they should make sure that data are accurate. The data they are collecting through the system, are they accurately collecting people that are reporting them? Are they doing a good job? There might be some people that they don't like the industry, they don't like that organization, and they would like to report the false data. So you should have definitely some policy in order to check what they are offering as a data in the system. Okay. The sales department, when they are generating some sales report, we have to make sure that those sales already happened. They are real, not fake, in order to just shows that, okay, we are producing, we are very efficient, but it's fake. That's one of the things that is important. The other one, the complete version of the data. We mentioned that the ERD showing us how the business works in just one snapshot. But we need to make sure the database that we are having, it's completely collect the all the data in the business. Again, it could be at the moment that we are creating the database, it is exactly collecting the right data. But 6 months from now, 1 year from now, who knows? Maybe something change. Some new people come to the business. Some data that they are generating is not good enough. So maybe we want to change something, we want to add something, or maybe we want to remove something. That's why it's always important to be just 100% make sure that, okay, the data that we are collecting is technically completely show the whole business. Okay, so that's one of the things. The other one, current. We always want to make sure that we have the most up-to-date version of the data in the system. If I am selling some items online, I am selling shoes online, I want to know exactly at the moment if transaction is happening, and if that transaction happened, does this one impact on my inventory level? I don't want to, for example, sell some shoes that I don't have it. I want to make sure that if I don't have it, I want to make sure to show on the website out of stock. For example, if you order it now, you're going to receive it in 5 days. Or for example, I have 20 items of A, and suddenly I will receive at the moment 21 order. We will talk about this at the end of the course, at the end of the section. That I want to make sure that, okay, if I have 20, I should just receive 20 order. If I am receiving 21 order and accept all of them, I'm going to be in trouble. So that's the things that we need to make sure data is all live. They're consistent for sure. Different department, different people. If there are two people are reporting the data for the sales, I want to make sure that they are reporting the consistent type of data. They are exactly reporting the same type of data. One of them don't report, I don't know, the just the shoes, or the other one, for example, report just the, I don't know, shoes and also the other type of clothes that we are selling. It should be all consistent. That's one of the things. And reliable. Reliable and accuracy for sure. They are both in the same direction. If the data is correct, I can definitely make sure that I can rely on data. But at the same time, again, I have to be sure that, okay, I'm exactly collecting data based on what I am expecting. That's the reliability. That's why we always have to make sure we are checking the whole database, monitoring it in order to make sure that, okay, we are collecting the data that we wanted to collect. We don't want to collect some data that technically is useless for us. Okay. And same for the relevance of the data that again, it's important to whatever we are collecting is important. The example that we had in this class, in the concept of the school, in the academic business that we are working right now, your blood type doesn't matter that much. But if you go to the doctor, visit the doctor, your blood type matters. So your blood type is your attribute, it's your feature, but it doesn't work here in that much, but it works over there. They have to know. So over there, it's relevant to them. It's not relevant that much to here. So we have to always make sure that the data that we're collecting is relevant to our business. It's exactly mirroring what we are doing in the business. It's not some unnecessary information because collecting data costs us. Storing data costs us. So why we should collect and store some data that they are not relevant to our business, or at least the relevancy level is not that much high as other type of them. Okay. So at the end of the day, the accessible also is one of the most important things. So in general, the data administrative role. At the same time, as I mentioned, they are in a different role from the database administration, but they work closely with the DBA people as well. Okay. But regarding the database administrative people, the DBMS people, the database administrative people. So technically, they are running the whole database system. They are working with the data. According to the data, they create the database, and now they have to control the database. First of all, in some big organization, they might have multiple database management systems. Is it possible? Some work with the MySQL, some work with, I don't know, Oracle, some work with some specific other things. So technically, they should always make sure that they can collect, they can control all of them. They're sometimes challenging because sometimes the outcome of one of them, that if it's possible to be used in other database, they have to be make sure that okay, the outcome of this one, it's gonna exactly consistent with the one that we need in this specific database. That's one of the challenges that they have. But the one that you mentioned for the database manager system, they have to protect data. That's matter a lot. We cannot imagine how the data important. Just imagine for a second that the website like Amazon, that they're seeing hundred thousands of items per hour, just their database for 1 hour is gone. And we can imagine how mess is gonna be created in their system. Database is exactly like a blood. If we don't have blood in our body, we're gonna die. And the businesses without a database, without the real data, they are just definitely they're gonna die. They're gonna crash forever. So we can see we have already maybe heard a lot of news that, for example, the database of the Meta just crashed for 1 hour, and it cost them, for example, millions of dollars. So that's why, especially in that level, 1 second shutdown of the system, it's gonna cost them thousands of dollars, hundred thousands of dollars. So that's why they always make sure that okay, the database that they're running is safe from different type of threat that they could have. Definitely, always it's possible that the equipment that they are having, the database, that the system they have, the server they have it, there could be some malfunction in their system. It is possible. We are working with the cell phone, and maybe one day when we just try to use it and it's just doesn't work. It is possible. The possibility is less. It's not that much, but it's possible. And again, with that level of importance of the job, that even 1 second of shutdown could impact the whole organization. So even just very, very small malfunction in the equipment, it costs the system a lot. Or the natural disaster. I don't know, they have a database in some specific location. I don't know, the earthquake comes or some just fires happening into the database. It is possible. I don't know, have you ever been into any database building? Was it that a little cold? Have you experienced that? They always try to keep this whole room cold because, first of all, the temperature, because of the amount of machines that they have, they are running with, it's cold. They should keep it cold, just make sure that I don't know fires happening or something like that because of just the temperature. So that's one of the things. There was a I don't know, I think the NVIDIA CEO was uh, at the interview that he said that the plumber and those people that they build buildings in future, they're gonna be a millionaire because 10 years from now, 20 years from now, we just need to create some place, some buildings, safe, secure buildings, in order to just run the all administrative database stuff for the whole all of this area stuff. So they're gonna keep all of the information there. They need to, at the same time, running their GPUs there in the whole database that they have. So it's really important to definitely also make sure the data is physically safe, the location that they have. And also, a lot of error things that could happen just because of the coding. That's one of the things. So that's a different level of the things. But at the same time, the cyber attacks, if you just search right now, the most recent data breach, you would definitely find something in the last month, last 2 months that happens even to the big names, AT&T. I don't know. During my PhD, we were insured by United Healthcare and they got leaked. I mean, just our personal information, social security number, address, everything just was leaked. And they just said, yeah, it happened. Just please monitor your credit. If you see something suspicious, please report. So it is possible, and it is very, very common. Okay, especially there are people that's it's their job try to attack the databases in order to get ransom, in order to get money from the businesses. So that's one of the things. Or sometimes it could be the insider people that one employee is working happily, but one day he just get fired and he wants to maybe just do some revenge from the company. That's why when they want to lay off people, before the guys know, they're gonna shut down all the access of that person to whatever type of the system that they have. So that's also another tool. At the same time, it is always matter for us, the database that we are running it should be efficient and it should be fast. So there's a trade-off between these two. If you want to be fast, there is a possibility to have high error. If you want to be very efficient and very uh, productive, you should definitely just sacrifice the speed. So that specific trade-off between these two is one of the most important job of the database administrator people. Again, just these two could impact a lot in the real big database. So these small things could impact. So that's why the trade-off matters between these two. So the regarding the physical security that exactly you mentioned that. So providing the safe environment is one of the most important things for the real database. Without any doubt, you have to have the safe environment. In order to be safe, you need to make sure that who have access to your data, who have access to your database location. Okay, that's why they come with two these different concepts: the authentication and authorization. So by authentication, they would define, okay, people A, people B, people C, people D, they can access to this specific lab, they can access to this specific part of the department, they can access to this specific fellow of the database building. So that's the type of the thing. So if you are kinds of eligible enough to go have access to those data, those sections, you will just get authenticated to go there. Okay. But also, I work in the sales department, you work in the inventory department, she works in the production department, and we are having access to our data. Technically, for me, based on the policy that we have, we'll talk about it. Based on policy, I shouldn't have access to the people data in the inventory department or the production department. So I just have access to some tables related to my department. That's the level of authorization I have. Okay. At the same time, even in my department, the head of the department, he has the higher authorization for accessing the data rather than to me, which is I'm just a very low level employee in that specific department. Okay. So even the level of access for people in the same department for sure is different. Okay. So that's the times that the database administrative people give access to some specific people for some specific part of the data and also some specific location. So that's how by identifying people and giving them a specific level of access, they are doing the authentication and authorization for the job. And for sure, the encryption that we all know about that is one of the other techniques that they always make sure to encrypt the data. If a data breach happening, at least they could say, okay, our data are encrypted, so the attacker they cannot have access to it. And for sure, this is not always guaranteed because At the same time, they are very expert, they are hacker, so they might decrypt the data that they stole from your business. That's also another level of things. But again, all of the things according to the policy that they have, according to the rules that they have, it could be different from department to department, business to business. So that's why the level that they are collecting, keeping, maintaining data, protecting data is different. That's why we have the data governance, that the people can govern the data. So different type of industry standard, different type of best practice is there. And sometimes the businesses, they have their own strategy in order to keep the data safe. So that's why it comes to the all the regulation and the policies that we should know. So chapter 7, chapter 8 is more like a storytelling to you. There's no coding. So there are some concepts that you need to know when you are claiming that right now that, okay, now I know SQL to very high level of extent. So I know the data. You need to understand also that the different roles that controlling data. What's the data administration? What's the database administration? What are the regulations? What are the standards? What are the policies for the data? Okay. So let's discuss about the different level of the business. The main one, the let's say the minimum level, the organizational level, they have choice to choose different type of policy, different type of regulation for. They can use their own strategy. They can just say, okay, we have a team. This is our specific policy. This is the way that we are controlling our data. This is the way that we are authorizing some people. This is the level of people that they can access to our data based on their own. But at the same time, they can also choose the best practice system that's available out there. They can also outsource that one to hire some other third-party people that those people come, they are more expert in order to keep the data secure, in order to make sure the data is running well and hiring them. So that's always possible, different between the organization to organization. Some people, they are doing it by themselves, some organization, they are outsourcing it. Again, that's a trade-off. The guy would say, okay, I'm going to spend more, but I will make sure that some other people are really responsible for my data. Some people say, no, I'm not going to pay more, but I will make sure to have a team that they can control it. Again, it's different from the business to business, based on a different strategy, based on different information system strategy that they have. So it is different. The second level, more like an industry level regulation in general. For example, for the car industry, for the healthcare industry, for the academic industry, they again could have different policy. Again, they can use different type of organization, different type of association that we can come and do the business for them. At the same time, there are again well-established type of strategies that's there. Either if you are doing the business in a car industry, auto industry, this is the policy that you should make sure you have it. Again, it's up to them. They can go with it. They can just ignore it. It's up to them based on different the policy that they have. One level higher, it's gonna be the government level, the state level, national level. Country by country could be different, okay, based on the data, controlling data governance. There are a lot of standards out there in order to make sure that the data in the business are working well, are safe. One of them is HIPAA. You have heard HIPAA? So what is HIPAA about? Yeah, for the healthcare, for the privacy and the protection of the all the specific information for the patients. We were attending to the AMIA conference the last couple of days for the HMI program that I'm running it. So AMIA is annual, I'm sorry, American Medical Informatics Association. It's one of the big uh, conference. That this year annual symposium was in uh, Atlanta, and I was talking with a guy. He was from University of Florida, and it's as I mentioned, the conference is more about the medical stuff. So they were they were, I would say, very lucky that the NVIDIA spent over $100 million in their school to provide some specific type of GPUs to running LLM models on their own. The fact is, one of the high-level people in the NVIDIA was the alumni of the UOF, University of Florida. That's why probably they did it. It doesn't matter why they did it, but the fact is, uh, they're using with the patient's data. Okay, they're using with the patient data, and the interesting part, you cannot use those type of data in order to train some model, AI model, on the, for example, OpenAI database. In that case, they have their own GPA. They can just download those type of large language model, the open source one that they're available. We know that we can install the large language model in our machine. But for sure, my machine capacity performance is very, very limited in comparison with the system of the $100 million different of GPUs. And then, based on the HIPAA, that they should definitely make sure that they are not violating it, they are using that specific local LLM to train their data, to train their model with those data, and they are make sure. Or it was mentioning about the other, I don't remember exactly which school or which health system that they are paying one of these LLM companies very huge amount of money to just use some specific part of the LLM, and they are making sure that that LLM is not publicly available. It's just specifically for this organization because they are using the personal information of the patients. So that's the HIPAA or the FERPA. You know all what is the FERPA, right? Yeah, is your right as a student. So technically, all of your grades, all of the things should be definitely be uh, secure just with the instructor and you. I mean, all the right that you could have. Or, for example, the Sarbanes-Oxley. Have you ever heard about this? What is it? Yeah, exactly, exactly. And also for investing and stuff, they use that one. Nice. So that's a type of the standards, laws, and regulation, which is just for United States. So technically, if you go to the UK, if you go to one of the Asian countries, if you go to one of the African countries, it's different. Okay. In that case, we have the international regulation. Imagine you are running a business that you have multiple branch in different countries in the world. And each of those countries, you should make sure to not violate their regulations for the data. Okay, so that's all different type of, for example, the general data protection regulation is just like a common rules, but again, UK, they have different rules. Other countries, every country have their own rule. Okay, so definitely that's the type of thing that you need to make sure when you are running a business, you have to definitely comply on whatever they are. You also definitely apply whatever they are requiring you to have it. But one of the main issue with the database system that is possible to happen, it's about the concurrent access of the people to the database from the employee side, from the customer side. Okay, simple example. I am again running a business. I have a website. I am selling item A. I am selling item B. And for example, item A, I just have 10 items right now in my inventory. And at the same time, 12 people just start to request purchasing that item. So this concurrent transaction, if I can't control it, it's gonna make trouble for me. At the same time, I have two employees, they are working on the database. At the same time, they are changing, updating, deleting, whatever. They could be related together. They could be doing the same things at the same time. So that's one, again, we have to make sure this one not happening. Okay, so uh, there is a like a policy for it, the ACID policy, the atomic, consistent, isolated, and the durable. That's the type of things that they always make sure to have it when they are running this type of business in order to make sure that there is no concurrency issue. They make sure that they are controlling this concurrent action. So the atomic is the first one. The transaction cannot be subdivided. Okay. If someone is purchasing shoes from my website, it's just happening once and one only. I cannot divide it to two different transactions. Okay, so that's one of the fact. It should be definitely atomic. If it's happening, it's just happening once. We cannot subdivide it to two different ones. The other one, the consistent. Whatever happening before doing the transaction, whatever happening after, they should be the same. If I am purchasing three shoes with a total value of $120, before pressing the purchase button, place order button, exactly after that one, the transaction should reflect that three shoes is sold with the $120 value. So whatever happening before transaction, second before transaction, after transaction, it should be consistent. Okay. And the isolated, again, if some transaction is happening in the system, technically those other users, they cannot see that a specific transaction during that process. Okay. And the last one, the durable, last one, once the transaction is happened, it's done. You cannot cancel the transaction. Okay. You can for sure start returning, request for refund. It's okay. That's a different transaction. But when I purchase something, it's done. If you want to return it, that's fine. Let's start the new transaction and return it to me. Okay. So that's the whole AC ID policy that they have. And in order to make sure that these are happening, we have to learn about the lock policy of the database management system. Okay. So technically the database itself, it's gonna lock other transactions while one transaction is happening. So we have different type of locking levels and different type of locking mechanism. Okay, if you see the picture in this example, we have. I just forgot to bring my microphone. I have to stand here to make sure voice is recording. So on the left side, we have Mary, the customer ID 831, and also we have Jane, the customer ID 922. Okay, they are starting checking for the Atika booth. The item number is 150. At the same time, Jane, just a little after, she's exactly checking that one. Okay, and then at the moment, we have 12 items available for that specific boot, the same showing for that. So this is happening because they don't have that policy. So they start doing the transaction at the same time together and purchasing. So it's just happened in the same time. We don't have locking mechanism. Right now, the system for each of them shows that, okay, I had 12. I sold one, now I have 11. But the reality is we sold two in a two different transactions. So technically the inventory should show us that we have 10. But since they didn't have the locking mechanism, it doesn't show it correct. But what does it by locking mechanism? The locking system, it's gonna lock the system in a different way, in a different level, in order to make sure, okay, one transaction happening, let's do this and then go to the next one. Okay. That's why I don't know, have you ever experienced it before? For example, one famous singer, for example, they would announce that, okay, we are just selling tickets at today, 4 p.m. And 4 p.m. you are gonna be there to just This has happened for me for the Coldplay group that it's crazy. You go there to purchase, millions of people are there to purchasing. So technically, you are going to do transaction, it doesn't work because of the whole. This is also related to the bandwidth of the system, I know, but it is also related because they are selling something at the same time other people are saying selling are purchasing it, so the system doesn't let you because the other are doing it. That's why millions of people to just go to the website and sometimes it would create some crash on the website. But we have different locking levels. The very main one, which is technically not a good idea, to lock the whole database. If one transaction is happening, let's lock the whole database, and it is ridiculous. You are not gonna lock the whole database with all organs, all departments, just because one customer purchasing something. Okay, but it is there. We have to know about it. The other one, it's a table locking. I am purchasing something from the sale department, and the sale table is going to be locked at the time that I'm doing the transaction. When the transaction is completed, the table is unlocked, the second one can go there. And also, it can go to the database page or view. We know what is the view. It can also just lock one view. And it can go to the record or field. For example, I am just locking one specific column into the database. For example, I am just locking the inventory column, okay, the quantity of on hands of the data, or some specific row again based on the different policy that we have in the organization. These are the different level of locking, but we have two main locking mechanism. The first one, the exclusive lock, the second one, shared lock. By exclusive lock, which means it's gonna lock whatever, database, table, view, record, field, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's gonna lock and no one can see that table, for example. No one can see what's happening. This is the exclusive lock. But the shared lock, it's gonna lock it still. But I, as the other employee, I can see this table is locked. But for example, the level of inventory from 12 became 11. So technically, I can see. I am assuming I am the person that have the authorization to see that specific table. Okay, so that's a test, the same thing. But the challenging part, if you have, for example, multiple table, multiple database, multiple records, and if you want to log some of them at the same time together, that's the challenging part. That's why the database again administrative role is a very, very important task because you have to deal with all of these details. So I have a data. We all have phone. Some of us have iPhones, some of us have Android phones. Some of us use iCloud. Some of us use other system of clouding in order to, while we are using this iCloud or backup, this data clouding system, save space is one reason. Why you are using the cloud system at the same time.
Just to keep them.
Backup. That's the main reason. If I lose my phone, if I don't save it in my iCloud, my personal photos, my personal documents, my personal digital wallet, it's gone forever. But yeah, you're using the iCloud cloud system in order to save space. But the main important one, you're saving your system in some, we are assuming it's a safe location. Okay? We are trying, even though we had a very huge leak on the iCloud back then in 2015, 16 for the celebrities that happened. But again, we are doing it for backupping our data. Now imagine how it is important for a company like Meta, like Apple, like whatever big names to have a good systems that they can back up their data. For backup the data, there are a lot of different strategy, like a hot backup, like a cold backup, a lot of things. They should always have backup because again, a lot of nonsense could happen. Data breaches, the attacks, just again, natural disaster, anything. Or even by mistake, I am working on a database. I have an authorization to working with database, and by mistake, I'm deleting that table. It happened by mistake. I didn't want to know why it happened. So I should have a backup for it. Okay. So technically, for a database, they should have at least these three procedures when they are running the business. First of all, again, back up from the data or data mirroring. There are different policy for it. One of them, which is the most safe one, but definitely very expensive one, is exactly mirroring your database. I am having database. I am exactly creating a copy of that database. So whatever I'm doing here, I'm going to do it here as well. So technically, I am running two databases at the same time, but for sure, more expensive. If more people needed to control it, but it's most, I would say, secure one because whatever happened to the first one, you're going to have the second one without any doubts. But also, there's a possibility to just have backup in a normal way. We call it like a hot backup. So while the system is running, we are doing that backup. It's safe still, it's fast. The system is running, we are not shutting the system, but there is a possibility that some error happens, some transaction are happening, and maybe while you are backupping some of those transactions couldn't capture well. So there is a possibility to have error. The other one is the cold backup. The cold backup, it means they're not just gonna shut down the system for 1 hour, 2 hours. We can see some organization, for example, they email, okay, for example, December 5th, Thursday night from 11 a.m., 11 p.m. to next day to 2 a.m., we are gonna do the maintenance. We are gonna do the backup. So technically, they are shutting down everything, create a backup, and then after 3 hours, 2 hours, they're gonna make it uh, available again in order to work. So that's a type of thing. The other one that is so important is the logging. I am working in the department A. You are working in department A. I am gonna change something in table A. You are gonna change something later than me in table A. One of us made a mistake. One of us deleted something unintentionally, and as an outcome, the data is deleted. But if we already wrote it somewhere that, okay, employee A logged to the system, did this change at this specific time, at this specific time, date and time, done. The second one, employee B went to this table, did this, a specific time, a specific date. Now we have like a journal that telling us exactly who did what. Then we can find, okay, if some error happened, it happens at this point. Maybe you want to blame that person. Maybe you want to find out, okay, it's a start here, so let me just fix it from here. No, that's also important. So they have to always make sure to exactly record who have access to the data. And for sure, the last one, the recovery part. Whatever happened to data, you definitely need to have a backup. And the backup, for sure, when you have a backup, you want to recover the data. So that also could be a time-consuming process. Especially, it is important for you to recover to the exact point that the error happened or something happened. You don't want to mess up with the previous data. So that's also important. That one should be also free of error always. So that's very important thing. So in general, the database administrative people, they should be very technical. They should work in a very, very optimized way. Okay. So I always say this example in my class. I myself, my background is industrial engineering. So do you know what industrial engineer do in general? Have you have any idea? Exactly. When you are like electrical engineering, you have some tools like when you are a computer engineer, you know coding. When you are like a civil engineer, you know work with this type of building stuff. Industrial engineering, the main thing that giving you is just a thinking to use a system with the minimal resources to have a maximum performance. That's what we call it as optimization. Okay. And it's super hard. There is no right answer for it. I can claim that I'm running this business in this level of optimization. You might say, no, I'm going to make it better in this level of optimization. Okay. So that's in general, the database administrative people, they should always looking forward to have the most optimized system. And there is always room for having better system. That's why they always keep monitoring whatever they are doing. They always keep working on it because when the database system works well, the business works well, data is better, data is more accurate, data is more reliable. I'm gonna analyze it, give the information to the higher level people. They're gonna make a strategic decision based on that one. You see how these are like a chain connected to each other to the very, very top level people. We might say, okay, variable character 30 and the character 30, but even that small thing in that level of business, it's important. Okay. So that's about the chapter 7. We just learned in general the difference between these two roles. These are the type of roles that you might want to pursue after graduation to be a data administrative people, a database administrative people. That's the type of the job that I would say, at least from the database. Let me stop recording.